Hey guys, Mr. Backwork here. In this video, we're going to be looking at finding the greatest common factor. So when we're talking about factors of a number, we're talking about numbers that multiply together to give us that specific number. And when we're looking at finding the greatest common factor, we're looking at all of the factors of two numbers or three numbers, and we're trying to find the biggest number that is common to both lists. So let's talk about 12 first. When we're talking about factors, we want to think about the things that multiply together to give us 12. So one option would be taking 1 and multiplying it by 12. 1 times 12 is 12. I could take 2 and I could multiply that by 6. 2 times 6 is also 12. I could take 3 and multiply that by 4, and that would give me 12. And I think that's all the pairs of numbers that we can multiply together in order to get 12. So now let's talk about 28. As far as things that multiply together to give us 28, it could be 1 and 28. We could take 2 times 14. I don't think 3 is going to work. We could take 4 times 7. And I don't think 5 or 6 will work either. So we've got our list of factors for both of our numbers. Now we're going to look for the biggest number that shows up on both lists. And as we're looking at our lists, I notice that 4 is the biggest number that shows up on both lists. So the greatest common factor of 12 and 28 is 4. Now there is a different way that we could go about this. So here we're going to find the greatest common factor of 18 and 42. And what I'm going to do is make a factor tree. And I want to think about the numbers that would multiply together to give me 18 in this case. Well, that could be 2 and 9. 9 breaks down, though, into 3 and 3. And that's as far as we can factor this. So we have 2 times 3 times 3, and that would give us 18. Now, if we look at 42, 42 could be 6 times 7. 6 breaks down into 2 and 3. 7 doesn't break down any further. So we have 2 times 3 times 7. When we're finding a GCF or a greatest common factor, when we look at all of the factors of our numbers, we want to look at what they have in common. So they have a 2 in common, so I'm going to grab that 2. They also have 1 3 in common, so I'm going to grab one of those 3's, and I'm going to multiply those two numbers together. 2 times 3 is 6. So the greatest common factor between 18 and 42 would be 6. Now things might get a little trickier here because now we're going to start throwing some variables in there. So we still want to find a greatest common factor, but now we're looking at 6x to the fourth and 15x cubed. Let's look at 6x to the fourth first. And I guess let's focus on the 6 first. In order to get 6, we would have to take 2 times 3. Now x to the fourth really means that we're taking x and multiplying it by itself 4 times. So we've got x times x times x times x. So all the way factored out, 6x to the fourth is 2 times 3 times x times x times x times x. Now if we look at the 15x cubed, 15 is going to be 3 times 5. X cubed means we're taking x and multiplying it by itself 3 times. So x times x times x. Now we're finding the greatest common factor, so we want to look at what's common to both lists. So I see that we have a 3 in common, so I'm going to take that 3. I see that we have one set of x's in common. I see that we have 2 set of x's in common, and then I see that we have a third set of x's in common. So if I multiply all that stuff together, well, there's nothing to really multiply by that 3, so it's going to stay as a 3. But if I take x times x times x, that's going to be x cubed. So the greatest common factor between 6x to the fourth and 15x cubed is 3x cubed. Now in this next example, we've got 4a squared and 3ab. If we look at 4a squared first, 4 is going to be 2 times 2. A squared is going to be a times a. So all the way factored out, that's 2 times 2 times a times a. For 3ab, 3 is prime, so the only factors are 1 and 3, so I'm just going to leave it as 3. Now to get ab, that's going to be times a times b. That's as far as that one will break down. Now we're looking for what they have in common, and the only thing that they have in common is a. So A is the GCF, the greatest common factor. Now here we've got 14g squared and h cubed, and then we've got 21g to the fourth and h to the fifth. If we look at the 14g squared h cubed, 14 is 2 times 7, g squared is g times g, and h cubed is h times h times h. Now if we look at the 21g to the fourth, h to the fifth, 21 is going to be 3 times 7. G to the fourth is g times g times g times g, and h to the fifth is h times h times h times h times one more h. Now once again, we're looking for what their lists have in common. So I see that we have a 7 in common. I see that we have 2 sets of g's in common. And I see that we have 3 sets of h in common. So there's nothing we're multiplying by the 7, so that's going to stay as a 7. We have 2 g's that we're multiplying together, so that's going to be g squared. And on the end, we have 3 h's that we're multiplying together, so that's going to be h cubed. So the greatest common factor is 7g squared h cubed. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.